So that you just work against it. But you're gonna push them out from playing altogether.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it sucks.
Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Glens Falls Water and Sewer Board meeting. It's Monday, December 2nd, 2024, just a few moments after 2 p.m. We start every meeting by opening up to public participation. If there's anybody who'd like to address the Water and Sewer Commission, please have them come forward and tell us your name and address. Hi.
How are you?
Good,
My
how
name
are
is
you?
Phil Velasco. I live right here on 42 Sagamore Street.
Great.
And we had a sewer backup on the line. And when they pressurized the line to get the clog out, it blew all the standing water and everything right in my basement. So that means everybody's
Your address is
42 Sagamore Street.
42 Sagamore?
Yeah, and this happened Wednesday, and this is not the first time this has happened.
Mhm.
So we got all the paperwork, and I hired
Oh,
North
what
Country.
paperwork? I'm sorry.
What's that?
What paperwork? I
Paperwork for the
apologize.
history of the problems that we've been having
In-
in that septic.
area?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this is, like I said, this is the second time in just over a year.
Okay.
Last time was June of 23.
Okay.
So
So
we
a
hired
little more than a year ago, you had similar problem
same
happen?
problem. We cleaned it up ourselves the first time.
Who's we?
Me and my wife.
Okay.
My wife Wendy. She's
Gotcha.
not here. She's at work. So
Fair enough.
I've got pictures on my phone from both times.
Sure.
And this time we hired North Country Janitorial to come in,
To clean
and
it
they
up?
charged us $3,000 basically, $2,950 plus tax to clean everything. They had to pressure wash everything to get all the aroma out, and I've had 2 machines running in my basement since Wednesday. Trying to-
Machines?
Yes, 2 machines,
What?
like a
Dehumidifiers?
dehumidifier type machine, and then one was for to help get rid of the smell and odor.
Great.
So that's been
Okay.
running in my house since Wednesday. We shut it off actually yesterday morning.
Gotcha.
Mid-morning. So I am here to figure out a solution to this and get reimbursed for this because they know this was not my fault.
Who
Dan-
knows?
Dan Gerard, I think his last name is Gerard. He's the supervisor that's out in the field.
Yeah.
He came right to the house. He's the one who wrote up the proposal from this. If you'd like to see this, I can give that to you
Sure.
if you'd like it.
We'll make copies and get it
Yep.
to the
And
To the Water
I
and
also
Sewer
got
Commission?
this from North Country with the estimated price, what it's going to cost.
right.
if you'd like to
And
take a
Dan
copy
did
of
this.
that.
This is a report from a year and a
Yep.
half ago.
And that was actually a report from this past time. So that was
Oh,
from from Wednesday. It happened on Wednesday.
Is this your original?
That's the original she just gave me today. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. So
May
they
I
just got the
ask
paper
Joanne
because
to
it
get some
happened the day
copies?
before
Well, it's gonna
Thanksgiving.
be a claim,
Gonna
so
have
it's
to
gonna
put
need
a
to come to
submitted
our
claim
office.
Gotcha.
So you'll wanna go to the city clerk's office.
They
to
told me to come here.
fill out a claim.
Yeah, they told me to come
They
here.
shouldn't have told you that. It'd
City
be a claim.
clerk's
I'm in
office?
the-
Or I'm sorry, went to the town hall.
There
I'm
you
sorry,
go.
we went to the town
There you
hall.
go.
They didn't
I
tell
guess
us
it
or-
depends
but
on
they
maybe
told
who-
us to come here.
So the city clerk, I work in the city clerk's office.
Okay.
It's a claim form because we had to send it through our insurance first.
Yep, I talked to somebody on the phone and that's what they said. And they told me to call my insurance, but I didn't realize my insurance
No.
didn't cover septic. I didn't know that
Yeah.
on the
Okay.
homeowners.
Yeah, so I work in the city clerk's office.
Okay.
And so we'll need to have you fill out a claim form first, see what the
Yep.
insurance says, and then go from there.
Okay.
So can we get Joanne to make copies of that? And
Right behind
right
Oh,
behind-
I was like,
That's
where-
great.
sorry, send it behind me.
And Joanne, do you have the Danjo report?
Yeah, that's what you had.
Both?
Yep, yep.
So if you could make copies of both of those for the Water and Sewer Commissioners as well, that would be great.
Plus, Dan
And then-
has he brought down the camera to camera and snake the drain.
Uh-huh.
So he's got a DVD. He said if I need a copy of that DVD for you guys, I can get that as well, but I have not received that yet.
Yeah, I don't think we do. So the process here, Bill, you want to share the process with?
Yeah, as Emily said, you'll submit a claim
Okay.
to the city clerk's office.
Yep.
If you go to their office, they'll give you a claim form. You fill it out with all your backup material.
Okay.
It'll be sent to the insurance company. They'll review it. They'll ask for any kind of, we already have the backup. They'll ask for anything that we have,
Yep.
and then they'll make a decision.
The only thing that's
the
not on
reimbursement.
that paper, they recommended me to get my floor repainted because of all the silt and soot and everything that was on there when they pressurized, it was peeling the paint off it. It's concrete floor. but it was painted before this all happened. So
Okay.
the last time and this time that it's happened, I think it's started to chew that paint
Right.
up. So now I just got to get an estimate of getting my basement floor painted
And I'll,
and different things.
I'll talk to Dan. I'm not sure if he has a CD or he has just a thumb drive or an email.
Yeah, he told
probably-
me it was like on a drive or a CD. I
He
can't
probably has it
remember
on a drive.
exactly. Yeah.
So we'll find out if there's any kind of issues with the lateral itself.
He said there was. He said it looked like right in front of my driveway. It looks like it bellies, and it was
There's a
full
dip.
of soot and grease and all
There's a
kinds of
dip.
stuff, and they don't know where it's coming from, and that's where it seems to be backing up. And
Okay.
that must be the low points right there, just before that, and everything when he blasts it, just everything comes right back in my house,
Okay.
and it's a
All right.
it's a mess.
Dan's not in today, so I was unable to talk to him
Okay.
today. So
So it was not a very good holiday
So-
weekend.
I'm
for
sorry.
me, unfortunately.
Sorry to hear about that. Should he include an estimate about the paint flooring on the,
Everything all at once.
all at once?
'Cause
Yeah.
They said they can get everything what I should do. North Country said they'll write down because their end of their month, their books are crazy. She's trying to get everything she could. She goes, if you need whatever else you need information from us, just let me know, and we'll supply it.
But I don't know that North Country Janitorial would make an estimate about what painting, repainting the
No,
floor.
I have to
Right.
actually
That's what
find
I-
somebody that does
Right.
painting and do that and get somebody in my house. But I wanted to wait for everything to dry up and get cleaned out.
Sure.
We
No,
lost
I-
a lot of stuff down there.
So
and-
when should he put the request
whatever
in before he gets the
no,
paint?
once he gets everything, we should make it a complete package
Yep,
and then submit it.
that's what I was.
The insurance will take it up to 90 days from the incident.
Okay.
However, obviously sooner the better.
Right, correct.
However,
That's why
after
I'm-
the 90
that's why I'm
days,
here
yeah,
today.
after 90 days they won't. However, yeah, you want to submit everything, every estimate, everything you're asking for all at once.
Okay.
And the claim form is in the city clerk's office.
Okay.
So I don't know if when you leave here, if you go there, you could get the form. You could ask for Megan. She could give it to you.
That's for Megan.
But I'm in there normally. I'm just obviously.
Okay, and your name is?
Emily.
Emily, okay.
Yep. So
All
if it's
right.
not a today thing, it's definitely you can do it another day. But you'll want to get
Yeah.
everything to submit. It'll
Yeah.
all go to the insurance all at once.
Yeah, I just gotta get a hold of a painter to get him in my house now.
Yep.
It's kinda
Just an
dry, and
estimate,
I'd get him down
right?
there. and
Even
get
an
that.
estimate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Be good. You just don't want to submit the
Claim
the
piecemeal.
claim piece without, you know,
Everything.
and,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I want the total package and
Right.
get everything bottom dollar and be done with it.
Yep.
So appreciate you coming.
Mhm.
Sorry that
It-
this,
It's just, I think a better way to go about doing it is that if they had the truck to, like they suck septic tanks out, they should have brought that truck in, cause there was standing water in there and it just, I don't know how deep it was, but it was just right up and they could have just sucked some of that standing water out before they blasted that pipe. And that probably would have saved a lot of water from going in my house.
yeah,
And they knew that my basement was already had water coming in. Thank you very much.
yeah, I can't respond to that because I wasn't there.
No,
I don't
I know,
what
and
you're talking
I'm
about.
just saying a better way of probably going about some, even if it happens to somebody else, a better way of doing that would be try to suck some of that water out first before you blast it so it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and isn't there usually a trap outside of somebody's house that stops that from coming back in, or am I
No.
using? I
No,
don't know what I'm talking
just a
about.
clean out sometimes.
Okay.
So, okay?
Thank you.
It's in the report that, all the stuff that he noticed and access to, like you're saying, there's
You
a,
wanna read it? I mean, it's a history of, I don't think he wrote every little thing in there. But when he come into my house after the blasting was done, he just stood halfway down the stairs and looked. Of course, we had a bunch of old blankets and towels and newspapers, whatever we could lay down on our floor to help try to soak up some of the water, because the water was heading towards our boiler. So I didn't want to get up in the electrical of our boiler,
Yeah.
and
so this was all, there was no other, there was just, a sag pipe for collection, there was no other,
yeah, that's what
vessel
he kind of
containing
told me. He
content?
said kind of right there in front of our driveway, and he marked the road. And he said he had to talk to his supervisor about it and bring it up to him about possibly, hopefully digging this up and fixing that pipe and fixing that area so it doesn't have to keep happening.
okay.
So that's the last I talked to him was on Wednesday, so I haven't talked to him since.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure we do. We've got his report. He's got to come back to work.
Unfortunately, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We all do. But, alrighty,
Thank you.
thank you,
right.
appreciate it.
Anybody else from the public? Anybody online, Peter? Stormwater moment, Bill?
Bottoms up. Anybody that would like to drink that. Just giving you a preview of what happens to all of the things that are either thrown out of car windows or left on the surface of the streets, whether it's car wash, soap, dog waste, yard waste, fertilizer, sediment, grass clippings, trash, and one of the main culprits, cigarette butts, how they degrade into toxic chemicals and fill our tributaries with these materials and toxins, and flow from our storm drains to the tributaries to rivers, lakes, streams, and oceans where catch basins are. Any questions on the stormwater moment?
Bottoms up, huh?
If you're so inclined.
Billing issues, 8 feeder bend.
Yes, I think everybody's had this letter. I asked Mary Beth with history, they've never really had a problem. So it's probably, a one-time issue that this woman experienced with her sprinkler system and not being home, probably compounded the issue. So they're asking for some relief in the form of a credit. They've already paid, so I think we'd be looking at probably sending the bill
It's
back to-
outside of the house, though.
Yeah.
The problem is, outside the
Yeah.
house.
Mhm. Yeah, because they went through the house, they couldn't find anything, and I know what you're getting to, probably the water never made it to the sewer. So,
I thought it sounded a lot like the, classic homeowner oops that we usually say, all right, everybody gets one. And he mentions it in here
Yeah.
that they've already scheduled for the system to be checked out professionally in the spring before it gets
spring.
turned on again, but,
yes.
if we're gonna do any sort of, that didn't go into the sewer, that kind of thing, then I would just love to circle and star at that point, this is it, so please don't wreck your chance and make sure
we'll
that you do get
send a
that.
letter, they get their one time.
Yeah.
Because
Me,
if you come back next fall, then, for the same thing, then,
As far as the invoice goes, normally what we do with these things, it's just there was no drain on the sewage system at all. The water probably would leach into the ground, that was it. If we could relieve the sewer portion of the invoice.
That's what you've done in the past.
Yeah, usually if it's outside or it doesn't hit the sewer, so we don't do it. We usually have to pay for the water, but the sewer is not necessary.
Well, we've given credit to other people, swimming pool leaks and stuff before for
Yeah.
the whole amount, so.
Yeah,
If we wanted to reduce it to $275, it'd be a $536 credit.
which would just be, and like I said, we look back in the history, and we've never had issues with this property, and they've always paid, and there's never been a penalty. So I
And
would kind of agree with Ron,
with the statement that
one time.
it's one time and
Yep.
they've got to check it out because there was something going on, right?
Probably had a leak in her
Yeah,
sprinkler system.
yeah.
I never got,
In her
Winterized
water,
for
in her,
system.
in her irrigation system.
Yep.
Is that a guess? Did we go and we did check the meter and it was an actual reading?
Yeah, everything was good with
Wasn't
the
a
meter.
mistake on the reading.
Yeah.
I'm not up on sprinkler system stuff. I don't know if anybody else is. Are they equipped to know what's flowing through them to some degree? Like, here's a normal amount, here's a ridiculous amount?
just like leaving a faucet on, only goes outside to the
If it's a leak
Mine do.
underneath, if the valve is leaking underneath the ground, you may never see it.
You never see it.
No, I mean, but there's some kind of computer that on and offs the whole thing through scheduling and all that stuff?
No.
If you're correct, like, you have a timer that sets the sprinklers off and shuts them on and off.
But it's not any smarter than that?
Yeah, no, but if the valve is leaking a little bit, if you can get something to leak by, it could be.
Okay.
Do you have a motion?
I'll move that motion that we give her a $536 credit. One time deal, 536.
Be the difference
And
between what a
reduce it to the
regular.
Usual 275.
Second.
One time.
We have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. can we make that motion contingent on the note that she check in the spring, make sure they don't have a leak in that system, that we won't
We're not back here
be
again.
able to remove that in the future?
It's a one-time credit.
One-time credit. Great. Resolutions approve the minute of the November 4th, 2024 meeting. Any questions about the minutes? Corrections?
I'll move the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Also in your packet is the warrant. Any questions or comments about the warrant?
I had two, just curiosity. Page 6, road crew parts from Prescott, the 17K. Is that what we were digging up over this area? That the city was flushing and there was a break, and
That's,
or is that hydrants or?
that's everything that we utilize is basically what we keep a stock in the yard. Once we start utilizing it, we get to a certain point, then we restock what we used.
Oh, there's a refresh of multiple hydrants.
Could be multiple hydrants, could be multiple pieces of pipe, could be mechanical
I see.
joints,
Okay.
it could be.
I was hoping that's not what
Valves.
the hydrant costs.
No, well, hydrants, that's probably three hydrants really, a little.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
More than 3 hydrants.
The other one was 14. The dump truck 750. Did we get a used thing to solve our temporarily solve our problem with the?
No, that's from Roselle, correct?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's
We
the-
had Roselle sandblast the body so that we could weld
the
steel in the bottom.
Fixing hours is what
That's
that's.
to fix it.
I don't know if they had something in the
we
yard
we
that we got to
purchased
use.
steel, and our crew are up at the field shop, and they're welding the steel in the bottom to get us through it. Hopefully, just the winter. We have one new stainless steel body on order, and we're trying to get a second.
Sure. I wondered if somebody found something under a rock. It's a lot different. Was it 30 or 40,000 or whatever?
Maybe a couple Tonka toys, but other than that, I don't think we can get anything set.
That's it for me. I was just curious about those.
So if nobody else has any questions about the warrant, do we have a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under discussion, we've got folks from Cerrone Builders here to talk about Western Avenue. Gentlemen, how are you? Very good.
Tom Center from Hutchins Engineering, Gianni Simone from Cerrone Builders. As we had in our discussion during the workshop, we're looking for some discussion regarding connecting a proposed 24-unit apartment house complex at the corner of Southwestern and Holden Avenue to the private connection across Southwestern to the gravity manhole on the east side of Southwestern by Dr. Klein's office. As we stated before, we know there's, regarding the issue, we put a meter on the pump station to monitor the outgoing flow so that we can have a mechanism to bill, and the Cerrones would entertain putting a 1-year bond together in the city's name in case there's a problem with payment in the future. That bond would be in the city's name to cover 1 year's worth of fees. After 1 or 2 non-billings, it can be pulled from there and it can say, hey, what's going on? We need to make some corrections there. And then in the future, once we also discussed in the workshop, if the town ever does extend the district or make the repairs in 8 years or so to the Luzerne Road connections, we would entertain possibly going in that direction and going into the town's wastewater district and extending it in there, because I'm sure this is a main street corridor for Queensbury, so all those houses in that neighborhood are zoned Main Street commercial, which is higher density, which really requires sewer. So in the future, when that is done, there might be a possibility that the sewer district will be extended, but we're looking to do something very similar to what Hudson Headwaters did with the old gynecologist office just up the street that connects to that same manhole.
You talked to Upset Headwaters about tying in with them?
I have not. But the bill was gonna check to see if that portion of the, where it goes into the city right away, if
Yeah.
it's owned by the city or if it's wholly owned all the way across. And we still would need to look at the calculations and see if we need a larger line than 2-inch, or not. You know, if this was gonna go forward.
Yeah.
We're working with sewer equipment. They do a lot of the E1 pump designs. They're very good at this. They do them all the time. And we would work with them and come up with a plan.
Yeah, I combed our files and our computer S drive, and I couldn't find anything on Hudson Headwaters. I didn't know. David, if you
find anything.
So
I can dig up the town approval where I found it that shows it connecting to the city and give you that, but it might help kind of do some backwards research and find out, you know, timeframes for whoever is next coming into your position to be able to dig up a little bit more information. I can
Yeah.
share that information with you.
Yeah, I'd
I'll
appreciate
send it
that.
to
Yeah,
Mr. Klingbeil
yeah,
too.
and still
so
send
that
it to
you
me,
guys
and I'll still
can
take a
look
look
it
at
up.
it from there.
So Surround Builders would own the pumping system.
They would own the pump station. They would own the force main to the connection to the city.
So they could alarm that and have,
Yes, it would have to be alarmed. It would probably be either a duplex or a triplex pump station, and would have to have some sort of backup power to it.
And that you said until.
And then
either
if
that's-
the district was extended, then we would join the district and
we could
bypass the
put
private
that in
connection.
an agreement, right?
Yeah, I mean, the agreement would have to cover all that, including, you know, emergency repairs and breaks, because if they own the line,
Right.
you know, and you can't mobilize a crew, if you have a break or something, you can't mobilize a crew, and the city's gonna do it, we have to figure out how to address that and how to bill that.
Mhm.
But, I mean, that's just lawyer stuff, I mean,
Understood.
Yeah.
that's not insurmountable.
Also, if you can hook into Hudson Headwaters, or is that Hudson
Yeah, if
Headwaters?
we
on the
can hook into that
on the west
Hudson,
side?
if we can hook into if the 2-inch is the same size as that we're gonna need, then we would ask Hudson Headwaters for the right to connect on the west
West side of that.
of Southwestern, so we don't have to cross the road.
But that
It's
would-
everything shallow. It's all shallow digging in there. There's no.
Because I wonder if Hudson Headwaters is metered.
Right. And that's our system, right? Not
Yeah, they're,
Queensbury's. They tied right in.
they're connected to the city.
Yeah,
That
gotta
was
be
pretty
metered.
clear on
Yeah,
on
gotta
the
be.
plans that I looked at previously.
Gotta be.
But-
Yeah,
but-
gotta be. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
Sure.
should
Yeah. You should have said that. Yeah, you should have said, sure. That sounds right.
But at that point, my point was that they probably would have to install a meter on their portion too,
Yep.
to,
How old is the infrastructure in that area?
I'd have to go back and look. I'm
So
sure. it's-
should that line be at least cambered and make sure it can handle the, what are you talking, 100 gallons a day per? Is that what they
So
do?
2,400 gallons a day.
Yeah. And that's the design gallon.
I mean,
It's
it's
really
not
more
a
going
lot,
to
but
be closer to 50%
it's-
of that
yeah.
in actual.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at it. That could be one of the stipulations that we
I
put
mean, in
into
light
the
of just
things.
what we went through with the homeowner there, we don't
Yeah.
want to cause another problem
Yeah,
like that.
one of the stipulations may be that we require them to have a televised contractor come in and just televise the portion, you know, of that downstream from the doctor's office.
Mhm.
Dr. Klein's
At
office
least get a
down
report or
to
something
where-
to say it's
That goes back
okay.
to Main Street?
It comes back to
No,
Sherman.
that goes
Goes to
toward,
Sherman?
it goes toward Sherman or Carlton Court and
Carlton
over to
Court.
Luzerne.
You got nowhere with Queensbury?
I think there is about 8 different projects that are stuck at the DEC level with the combined sewer overflow. What DEC, from my understanding, I'm coming into this as the last project on another location. What DEC has told the city or the town about the sewer district extensions is they have to come up with offsets because they're considering any sewer district extension in Queensbury an extension of the city's combined sewer overflow. And it's interesting because the town really doesn't have combined sewers like the city does, so there's not the opportunity to do the green infrastructure and everything that the city did with the 17 million that you guys spent in the city. So I'm trying to get a hold of some of the other engineers and game plan something to offer the gentleman at DEC to work something out, because it all, the sewer needs to be extended in order to get housing and all this other stuff. You need the density, and there's a big push from the governor on down to get some of this, and it's all stalled right now because of this combined sewer overflow.
Isn't that a lot of that I&I coming out of Washington County into Queensbury then to us?
There it seems to be. The
Yeah, that's
truth is we don't-
that's a separate Washington County
another
issue. Their issue is even bigger than the city issue that's over there going to the Washington County plant, because they have a lot of antiquated combined sewer systems still that they haven't done a lot of deconnections. They're trying to do it a little bit at a time, but they can't grow. They can't get money to fix it, and it's become a battle. Whereas here, I think if anything, it's I&I on the town side possibly that might be a solution. But I got to talk to some of the other engineers to try to come up with a plan. But that's holding up the extensions, because they did rezone the Main Street corridor for sewer. That's the evolution to try to get the density in there, and you need the sewer to get the density. So we're hoping that there's going to be an avenue here shortly.
Chris, is that coming from the airport, all that I&I?
No, Meadowbrook.
Meadowbrook?
The airport I&I's been adjusted now. They did lining out there over the summer. We're waiting to see some billing to see how much of a reduction there is coming over to us. But the drought, of course, is going to skewer things. So we're going to need a couple quarters to see what the reduction is.
But best management practice for the combined sewer flows is a two-pronged thing. It's any extension or anything over 2,500 gallons per day.
When did the Hudson Headwaters start discharging? Do we know?
I believe it was around in the 90s, maybe late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, that's why I wouldn't have
I'm
anything
guessing
on
right
it.
now.
I can't follow it,
When
yeah.
we started this, that's somebody had mentioned to us that there was a private connection over there, so I looked into it a
Yeah,
little bit
I went-
and found their original
I went
plans.
through years and years of files on that.
Well, yeah, so that predates me. I was
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that
Jim was
wouldn't.
probably,
yeah.
maybe even before Jim.
I have all Jim's files, LePan. I didn't even think to look in those. I can go back and look through Jim's files.
I believe
He was a
I believe
previous-
I've got the planning board approvals on that, so I can get you the dates.
Yeah, if
that
you
they
could give
went
me
through
dates,
it
because
and
I'm
then
just looking to see if we
design.
can find out whatever agreement they had.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows?
that's right. So it's a matter of looking at what that agreement is and seeing how
Who was there?
it could affect us.
Rodriguez?
Probably.
Would have been here.
Yeah.
Would have been Earth Tech.
No,
I was
mayor.
just thinking that.
Oh, the mayor. Oh,
Been in
Yeah,
charge
we-
of that, which means
Right,
nothing
Rodriguez,
was in
maybe?
charge.
Right.
yeah, probably.
It could be into the 2000s too. I'm
Yeah.
kind of going back. It's been almost a year, I think, since I looked at it. So,
'Cause
but
you're
I'll get that
yeah.
information.
Yeah, see if you can send
I
that to
think
me.
I think we're in the position where whatever you can find out, and we can
Yeah.
find out about the system, it's worth. We want to look at it. We don't want to say no. We know that you want to develop, and we're not against that at all. We're also, talking to John about our industrial park, and we know that there are concerns about the water that's in between the two. But that's all we know, right? That's as far as we've gotten. And so I wish I had more information for you, but I don't. I think
I mean, as long as we know we're moving forward, we'll get this information. We know there's a path legally to have a private connection. We'll keep plugging through, get that information so
Yeah,
that we can come up with something.
Don't let it die on the vine.
Right. Yeah, we're trying not to.
Keep it moving.
And I mean, from the city's side, the main thing is just making sure that, whatever costs associated with maintaining, keeping, and repairing that line don't fall on the city taxpayers. It ends
Yep.
up on you guys. So whether that's got to be bonded or however we do that, there's certainly ways around that. But that's with these out of district connections, that's always the issue, is collecting the money, having to pay a lawyer to chase it. Sometimes there's no pockets, but the bigger issue when you have a line like that is what happens if there's a break or something, and you get a mobilized repair.
okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Take care.
The Raftellus report. Bill.
Yes. in your package, we discussed, and the board approved this report to look at our rates, the surrounding areas, and also putting the rate into a monthly rather than a quarterly billing cycle. So, as you can see, if you read through the report, we pretty much are right smack dab average. And we're pretty much like everybody else. We bill very similar to everybody else. The way we differ is a little bit how we justify the rate as part of the assessment, and that's what kind of rate we use on the assessment. The second thing is we consider the city one city. So if we do a repair, whether it's in Ward 1 or Ward 5 or Ward 3 or 4 or 2, it's part of the city. That's how the repair is. So if you see some of these ones, they build their districts. If that repair was in that district would be responsible for that repair rather than the whole city or town. So those are the main differences with that. See if you have any questions on it.
Yeah, first of all, I considered water rate analysis to include sewer too. But I made mistake. But the main part of the water bill, the water and sewer bill, is the sewer, and there's nothing here.
Well, we've already had Raptillis do the sewer rate report. That was about a year and a half ago that Raptillis did the sewer rate and said how we were billing and things of that nature. I can send you that report, Peter. We didn't do the water side. We started with the sewer rate because we wanted to see, were we being paid properly from the intermunicipal agreements we had with the other surrounding communities that were sending the sewage to the Glens Falls wastewater treatment facility.
So one
Good point. We could pull out the sewer, those conversations about the sewer rate and put it together. We should have a conversation maybe at our next workshop about it, right? Look at it. We know, well, we learned some generic things about it, and I feel the same way about this. Like, I'm learning more and more that I didn't know. How other municipalities are dealing with this. Is quarterly the way they deal with it? How much it costs us to send a quarterly or a bill out? And then we can look at and we should do the same for sewer though now. Pull that part of the Raptillis report out and just talk about that, because the original Raptillis report was much more comprehensive. But we could look at how we're billing people in sewer and water and what those rates are together.
So I didn't understand. I thought in the average quarter bill, that said Queensbury $226. I thought Queensbury was cheaper.
Well, I think that's the mistake that everybody has, because some of Queensbury's depreciation on their sewer equipment and their sewer lines and their water lines and their water treatment plant is carried on the general taxation. It's not carried under the bill. In Glens Falls, everything that's part of water and sewer is carried on the water and sewer bill. Nothing's part of your ad valorem or general taxation bill.
Do you have any place where that would show us what that average bill is from Queensbury and what shows up on their bill and what shows up in their general taxes, or can we?
I can't remember, Bill, is that rate on the assessment? The separate tax? There's fire protection, there's several little
I'm not
added
sure
on
if
to
it,
the
yeah.
tax bill. One of them is either water or sewer.
I think it's water and sewer. I don't,
Yeah.
I have to go back and look.
It must be,
If you,
must be
this
rated
is
on
what
the
gives
assessment.
us the
This is what the total bill is.
the average water bill, and if you go under the town of Queensbury quarterly flat and fee and minimum charge independent of meter size with an allowance quantity. That was another thing that Glens Falls is in common with other people's bills. We bill per the line size coming into the property. So that's one of the things that differs us from the other communities.
Say that again. Help me.
Well,
We
so-
build differently based on the size of the water line that comes into our house,
Right.
Yes.
It's a different rate.
and what, we don't have any control over that, right? And how much is the difference between, if
It's-
I've got a 4-inch pipe and you've got a 2-inch pipe, what kind of difference is that?
I have to go back and I'll get that scale for you and I'll send it out to you. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's much smaller than that though. It's either 5/8 of an inch or, your service line coming in is relatively small.
Right, but the point is, does it really have to do with how much water I use, or just how much what size pipe you had when you put the water into my house?
Well, it's got to do with pressure draw on the system, right? Like if you've got an 1.5 inch versus a 3/4, you're just going to suck pressure out of the system.
Well, you
Harder
can suck,
than-
well, it all depends
or
on the
no?
pressure really in the line, feeding it, not really the size of the line going to your house. So. But I mean, if you open it up and you have a larger, your pressure's gonna be, maybe, if you have a small line, the pressure's gonna be a little higher, but if you've got a bigger line, your volume's gonna be more.
Yeah.
So,
But I'm paying you separately for volume.
that's how
I'm
it's
paying you a
based
little
on.
differently based on the size of so
Right.
again, we should have a series of conversations about this
Well, I think
and
it's-
start to look at this, right? Because we know that we've got to collect this much money from our system to make our budget work. But we don't have to necessarily have that change. We could just look at, unless it makes sense, that's all. And we just need to look at things to say, does it make sense that I get a little bit more, I pay a little bit more because my line is a little bigger than yours? I didn't have any choice in it. And I'm getting billed for how much water I use. The only real benefit is to me is that I guess I can draw more water. If I throw open all my faucets, I can run up a bill faster than you
Well,
can.
You
What's the-
you can gain more volume, but you lose a
I
little bit
think
of
the
the
only time
pressure.
you see that is if you go to an industrial or commercial.
Yeah, usually,
building.
but it says,
I mean,
you
every
know,
For a
residential,
sprinkler, you got to have.
every
So-
residential house is probably a
And
5/8.
it explains it
you know.
here too, under, on the second page, in the bottom, it says, the noticeable difference is that most towns in the surrounding area have a consistent minimum charge allowance of consumption within the minimum, which is not dependent on meter size. The city's minimum charge varies by meter size.
Right.
So it says similar volumetric rate structures to those in the surrounding area. So I'll look at it. I think it's very minimum, the difference, but I
Gotcha.
don't want to speak out of school without knowing the facts.
Right.
Without,
And if it is a very minimum difference, maybe it makes sense for us to just do away with it and charge the same fee to everybody regardless. As long as we make sure we got the same money coming in, right? So some people might see a few cents less, some people might see a few cents more, but everybody's paying the same rate for residential. Another thing that's different about us is that we don't have commercial rates, am I right?
we don't have tier rate.
We don't have tier rates.
That's
at
what I
all.
was going to associate I remember in a past budgeting session, I remember seeing something. I probably shouldn't talk because I don't know what I saw. I thought it was something to do with like there's all the house stuff, which is like 3/4 or 5/8, half in real old situations, but like industrial is like 1.5 or 2 and up, and so like there's no industrial water rate, but they're the ones that are going to have the
all right.
bigger pipes.
So you're saying
So
the
that's
only
the
real
industrial
difference
rate.
here is that that's it?
I'd have to say probably 90% of the houses in city limits are all the same size entrance.
So that's why we do it that way.
Yeah.
Instead of a commercial rate,
Right.
we charge a rate by the size of the pipe.
Like only a commercial person would want
A
a
2-inch
sewer
line
pipe
or-
worth of, like
Right.
yeah.
A big pipe. And
and
I don't. This is
a lot of these.
This is all recollection. I don't know.
yeah, no, I got you.
if that's true, but
Go ahead.
And apartment complexes have 2 lines. They have a fire suppression line, and they have a
Domestic water.
domestic line. So
Right.
now is that in doing that? Do they not incur a huge potable water line charge because it's not running all? It's never running.
yeah, they have to pay an initial fee for that, and then they have to pay, and they're tapped off that for their domestic use. And so They're only paying really for the domestic use unless, they have a fire or they use that water.
Okay, so that's why they bother with this, so they
And
can
that's
jump
the same,
around that
and
charge.
the same way, I know, I can't remember the name of the business over here in the industrial park. But they have a large fire suppression line that comes in, and then they have like a 2 or 3 inch line that comes off of that, because they use, a large quantity of water in their production.
Is our ad valorem rate because we own the water and sewer plant? Whereas,
No,
what?
ad valorem is just basically general taxation.
So because Queensbury's general taxation rate is so low, so is their ad valorem rate, town of Boston Spa.
I'd like to see how they figured that, town of Queensbury. How they figured that.
I can ask them, and I can certainly ask them if you'd like to have them come to the next workshop
Yeah,
and go over the way that they
if you publish this in the newspaper, $95 and $226. Tell people. I don't know.
Even just having that with what's coming out of their tax bill and what's coming out of their water bill, even dividing that into 2 sections would be a huge knowledge, right? That would shock people right there, wouldn't it? If the average water bill is higher in most of these. I haven't had a chance to read through it again, but I will, and let's put it on the workshop discussion for a while. Let everybody take a good look at it and come up with questions. I think what's important to me is that we ask ourselves, is what we're doing make sense? And do we want to continue it this way? Is there things that we could change? Maybe even just changing instead of the size of the pipe to a commercial rate, even just calling it a commercial rate, even if you leave it the same. Does that make sense or not? The cost of mailing out bills is $4,000, right? Is it $4,000 to mail out our bills?
It says here
Every
annually
quarter.
16.5.
Yeah. So,
That's the annual
Yep.
charge.
right.
If you go quarterly, it's gonna be 49,000.
Right.
No, monthly.
Monthly.
Monthly would be
If you go to monthly, I'm
49,000.
sorry.
Yeah. And we send this out separately from
Oh,
our
okay.
taxes, right? And we send it
Right.
out as a card, right? And so would it be better to send it out how much more would it cost us to send it out as part of a newsletter? Right? How much more would it cost us? $500, $1,000, $5,000 more? Because certainly people don't understand their water bill and their sewer bills. Maybe it's not a good idea. I just want to have the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm okay if we don't do anything different. I just want to have the conversation. What would make sense? What doesn't make sense? It's clear that most people have no idea that we're somewhere in the middle,
Right.
right?
All they're looking at, what they're comparing us to Queensbury.
Right,
They don't realize that there's also a portion of it on their property tax.
right. And how can we educate people better, or is it better to not? And I don't want to say it that way, but
Yeah.
the point is, I found that when in my first State of the City address, that I looked at all the taxes in the city of Glens Falls that goes out with the tax bill. And I showed the school districts, the cities, the county, the library tax, right? And what we had control over and what we didn't. I don't know that helped anything. I don't think anybody appreciated that I was saying, look, a lot of what you're saying, your taxes are too high, that they felt better when I was done telling them. I think that at least that's the feeling I got. Like people didn't go, oh my goodness, I didn't know that school tax was higher than this. It just seems like one big ball of resentment, and that I wasn't helping make it better. I was trying to educate, thinking that people might feel a little better. Same way when I showed people that their tax rates went down in Glens Falls due to we had been 15 years without a reevaluation. I think that, you know, what we showed people is how the tax rate had only over 10 years had gone up, you know, 10 cents. I mean, less than $10. All right, I actually share it with you, right? But point is that I don't think, and then it went down, right? It went from $10 per assessed value, $1,000 of assessed value, in 10 years to $12.50. It had raised the city's tax rate. It only raised $2.50 over 10 years. Then it dropped $5. And I don't think anybody, at least expressed to me, gratitude about that. If their taxes went up because of that assessed value change, they were upset. If their taxes went down as a result, they were quiet. And if their tax stayed in the middle, they were quiet too. So 60% of the people I didn't hear from, the 30% where even though the tax rate went down $5, their taxes went up because the price of their home was so much more valuable. I think that we should have a series of conversations about what this information tells us and ask ourselves, should we change anything? Should we not? And what should we do? How can we help either better educate and people to understand? And is there a way to do this more fairly? Right? I first of all, what is the difference? Right? We charge them a little bit based on we take our debt. Help me with this, Bill. We take our debt, this water and sewer debt, and we bill it out on an ad valorem tax based on the property values of their homes. Am I saying that the wrong way?
Yeah, we bill it out as part of the overall budget, and that's based on the consumption and the assessment of the property.
But the consumption has to do with how much they're using, and our debt has to do with how much their value of their home is.
Basically, but I think it has to cover whatever our budget is. That number, those two numbers have to cover.
Right, but we cover it based on their usage on one hand and our debt on another.
Yes.
And we don't have to assign it to homes, the value of their home. We could just figure out what it is based on everybody in the house or everybody's house, right? Everybody's got a home, and we could bill it that way. Everybody pays the same whether you got a house that's worth $400,000 or you got a house worth $200,000.
I don't know where that policy came from.
Yeah, well, it came from 1950. I don't know, right? Maybe that's fair. I guess I just want us to have the conversation.
School tax is based on assessed valuation, correct?
Yeah.
It's just a lot for socioeconomic differences, right? I mean, some people are not going to be able to handle it, whereas people that have a $500,000 house don't care about the savings, other than they just know that they're winning more by paying less, but that's not going to break their bank. However, the person living in a $72,000 house is like barely going to hold it together now that their water bill has gone up, I don't know what, $50 a quarter or something, whatever it is. The biggest problems I've always thought over the time I've been on this commission is people not understanding or getting the sewer just automatically getting tacked on to them based on their consumption. So if I water my lawn, if I wash my car, what if I drink a lot of water, whatever. Sprinkler systems not having their own hookups, like there's a bunch of that kind of stuff. But then in the same way that we look at the city, what did you just say earlier about Ward 1 incurring repair expenses versus 5 versus 3? You know, it's all the city's sewer expense. I had gotten the impression over time that that's just how water and sewer and under street road crew infrastructure, like all that stuff just gets smeared together into that one consumption thing, because we go broke metering it, having to get an out and an in meter on every house. That would be difficult. And then, you know, what if the sewer's just down on its luck department for 3 years and just needs a ton of influx, but water is sitting pretty for some reason. And now, like, you gotta raise this bill, but lower this one, and it's just a bunch of yin-yang all over the place stuff. So if we just sort of call it one smooth thing, then you can throw money off where you need it, when you need it, without having to re-explain why there's a catastrophe or a need or some kind of instance that happens, which doesn't help the person that, you know, has a dry summer and wants to keep a nice lawn and does it for pride of wanting to have a nice looking property, and then it like feels like they're getting punished for doing so. There's no answer for that person still. However, does anybody want to be contacted like 3 times a summer because, like, quick, we have to spend more money on this because a dam something broke, or the mowing of the dams has to happen because there's this invasive species. I don't know. So that to me was like, it's just so cyclic. I don't know where you get off that merry-go-round of because of that, well, because of that, well, because of that, well, because of that. And then it all just comes to, like, here's a number, comes pretty close, next. And then these kinds of discussions, like you're looking for, seem to get derailed because it's a lot of, like, all the time. And I don't see how you could get away from that because it's so complex. Like, how,
Sure.
I don't know how you get around that complexity. But I hear you. But those to me are more the things that I would think have affected people that have contacted me. Like, you know, when they find out I'm on the commission, like, how come I look at my, and I'm like, well, do you have a sprinkler? Yeah. What do you do? Well, they set it up. It goes off every morning, every night for a half an hour, 7 days a week. They're like, well, you're
using more water.
yeah, it's
you're
gonna,
using more water, you're paying more money.
Yeah.
you know, it's going to do that, and then they get mad
have
about
the
the
option
sewer
to shut
charges
it
of
off.
that water usage, and it's like, well,
Comes down to that.
Well, so do you have a point, Chris?
well, just you were
You
saying,
just-
having
yeah.
a discussion about why we do the way we do it, and
Well, I mean,
Why
if
things
we
always happen
if
the
we
way they
have the
do.
conversation, we might end up with leaving it the way it is. But it's worth looking at, especially
Yeah.
when you're using other places don't necessarily use the value of their property to sign off on their debt. They just have a debt and they divide it evenly. But that might be more of a burden on people with a not so nice of a home. Maybe that is a good reason to leave it there. That the guy who has the $500,000 home can afford to pay a little more of that debt than the person who's in a $150,000 home. I just want you to look at it. My thought was that this was a worth an exercise because it could help us see where we stood. Everybody will tell you that they pay too much in taxes. Everybody will tell you that they think Glens Falls' water and sewer bills are too high. When you break it down to monthly, I don't know that they are any higher than we would expect.
I think the report shows it.
Yeah, and maybe if it costs this much to send people a monthly bill, maybe we could find a way to monthly bill them electronically and
How's
stop
your-
mailing this out to begin with. Right, save
Yeah.
right off the bat,
I
save
get a lot
ourselves.
of my bills on my,
Yeah,
a big chunk of them. actually.
almost all of them.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it's very rare that you do that, but you know.
I was surprised to see that we house all of this treatment infrastructure, sewer treatment infrastructure, and come in the middle. Right? I mean, we bear the burden of taking everyone's effluent and still aren't the worst.
And I get back to
Which is-
Peter's point, though, this is just water. This report.
Yeah, right. But still, I just
Yeah.
mean, like, having a whole, like, we do everything, other municipalities only have this one thing. So if you're saying that people are complaining about their water sewer bill being high, it's like, we have all the stuff here, we do it ourselves, and it's in the middle. Like, other
Yeah.
people have 50% of
Well,
our
and
problem.
that was another reason why we want to have these conversations and continue to have them for a while. And some of them will go down the rabbit hole, we'll never make a decision, and maybe we shouldn't change it. But the fact that I don't think people know this. So if we could find a way to explain this clearly, I think it's worth it for us to do that. If nothing else, to put it on the water and sewer website, at least so you could see it.
I think what we should do is, you know, like you say, wait, really let this thing sink in, really
Yeah.
study it, take a look at it, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then come back for some more.
Think about
discussion.
what
Yeah,
to
think
do,
about
you
it.
know.
Yep, I agree.
And as far as online, I wonder how many people pay their bills in the clerk's office or the,
Controllers.
uh,
Controllers.
yeah,
Controller's
mhm.
office?
Yeah.
What percentage pay, what do we think percentage wise, pay online?
We could find
I will
out. We should be able to find that
I will
out.
tell you, water bill time comes. I mean, they get a line, but I couldn't tell you obviously numbers wise. They do. You just get the people that like to come in and pay.
Yeah,
But I mean, if you figure if you had the option of I want my water bill online or I want to have it mailed to me, maybe I pay the postage if I want the bill. Just throw it
Yeah.
out there.
Or
And it's one or the other
Just
versus
making it
both.
available,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think we need to move that way anyway. We are moving to technology,
have to pay for it, yeah.
and see, click, fix, and report errors and everything, and we need to do the same. At least have the option to
Make
pay
an
it.
option.
I
Yeah.
think the system right now
Would
is
you like to
the
have your
problem.
bill?
Yeah.
Online? Okay.
Right.
We just saved ourselves, you know, $20 for the
Yeah.
year.
Right, and you charge postage for the people that
Absolutely.
Right.
don't, or whatever.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
don't, whatever.
Or-
But
And at least they could print out their bill online
Mhm.
and then decide whether they want to bring it in or mail it back
Yes,
to us.
exactly. Put it out
Right,
and
so
what you
we
wanna
could
do.
save ourselves several $4,000 a quarter.
Mhm.
a lot of people don't have computers.
Really?
Well, not like, not, it's a, they live it, no, a lot of
Well,
people don't. Yeah.
Well, it's crazy. I didn't. I don't know that that's true. I don't. We need to find out because I don't want to hurt people, but there isn't a bill now that I don't pay online.
You gotta remember too, it's not just about having a computer, it's about having a printer. So we
Yeah.
email documents to people all the time. I can't tell you how many people
Right,
we
they
email
can't write
documents to
anything
that say, well, thanks for emailing me documents, what am I supposed to do with them? I don't have e-signature and I can't print them. I don't own a printer.
What percentage of people?
Oh, it's all big. It's probably at least 50% of people I send like real estate documents to sign don't have any way to print them out unless they go to Staples or the public library.
So
Plus the printer.
they have the computer, but they don't have the
No,
printer.
No, they don't have a computer.
Again, I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't imagine how they function. How they paying their NIMO bill?
Well, a lot of people use their work computers.
Sure.
And then,
Yeah.
There's also service fees online right now, so that also kind of pushes people away. Like from our side, as far as the
From our
water,
side, that's
we
our
charge
choice.
them. Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm saying we charge them a service fee for
We do.
paying online. So hey, I can just walk in and pay
My
it
point
and
is,
save
if
a
you
couple
take
bucks.
the city of Glens Falls out of the way, I mean, how many people right now
Right.
don't pay their bills online?
I don't.
You don't?
I know.
I send checks. I
You
don't
don't.
trust. I don't trust anything online.
I partially.
I pay my water bills here.
Okay,
so
some of
I
them.
work there.
Wow.
I still pay my taxes
And
by
I'm not
check.
paying the fee.
I do everything.
I'm
Credit card bills.
impressed. My kids don't have a checkbook.
No, mine is-
Well, I was, there's a lot of people. I mean, I think you got to look at it. Like I was the victim of identity theft. So, and they got all my information online and ran up a $15,000 snowmobile bill in Montana.
Well, and right now, if you pay your taxes with a card, even if it's a debit
Yeah.
card, we're charging 3%.
I know we
That's-
are, but that's
No, no,
our
no,
problem.
that's what I mean.
I know,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can't
that's
talk
the
about that.
pushback,
The
yeah.
reason that nobody's paying their bill online here
Right.
is that it doesn't pay them to. I wouldn't pay,
Extra check.
try to get a hold of NIMO today,
Yeah, right.
right?
Yeah.
Try to get a hold of AT&T today. I mean, I try to, right? I mean, it's absolutely, we're the only place that still has a phone call. You can call somebody and say, I got a problem here, right? We need to stop that, right? We got people with lists of tree repairs, and I mean, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, I don't know. Of course,
Well,
I was
the other
part
thing,
of.
too, you gotta understand, and my feeling is that this is an overpopulation in this city too.
It is.
And then, I don't think so, a lot of them.
Oh, I didn't
technologically
mean.
are up to
I didn't mean to stop them, but we don't have a way to
I mean, I-
communicate with them anyway, except to sell them a bill, send them a bill.
Yeah.
We got a great way to send you. We can send you all your bills, but don't. You can go to the website if you want to find. We got 1,000 people out of 15,000 that ever go to the website.
Yeah.
So you have no way to get information. You couldn't get this Raftellus report. You go. It's public notice. How many people are going to get this? We put it in the Post-R, nobody will read it, and they'll all tell us constantly I'm getting people, you didn't tell us. I'm like, I did.
Yeah.
Send it everywhere I could. We don't have a database with every user in the city's water. We don't have your emails. We can tell you there's a water break. We don't have a way to tell you when your bill's coming. We have a way to send you a bill quickly, right? And we'll penalize you if you don't pay it on time. But we don't have a way to talk to you. And but I do appreciate that you're right. As an age, I didn't mean all or nothing.
No,
But we
I'm
need
just
to
saying
help them move to a way in
Yeah.
which they can get information.
I would love to be billed electronically. I might not pay it that way, but at least
Right.
have the bill there. If I want to print it out and send it over, that's fine.
Right.
Or would there be any cost involved if they decided to pay it online?
Well, right now, if you pay it online.
Now there is, because
Right
we don't
now.
want you to.
Is
No,
it-
I mean, I'll say it the wrong way. We
Is
right?
it ACH or
We
Wells
we
card?
we have a system that
If
we
they do both, but
Look,
it's
I'm the
fee for
first
both.
mayor to buy a laptop.
It's
Woody.
minimal if it's ACH. It's
Right?
like $2.
I'm the first. I'll say it again.
But then you.
3 years I've been in office. The first
laptop.
laptop purchased in this city after the worst pandemic in 100 years. I'm the first to buy a laptop. It's almost like we thought technology was going away. We were buying refurbished desktops. Okay, we're the only organizations. Special Olympics is a minuscule organization. They all went remote. The whole country went remote. City of Glens Falls didn't. Okay, and it's amazing that we weren't sick. We isolated really well. We did the best we could, but we didn't have a VPN and operational and operate from home. It's scary. We have to change that. And one of the things, in addition to investing in technology, which we have done, is to look at this and ask ourselves, are we billing them with a 1950s model? Have we at least looked at what it is today? Is there a way for people to, without paying extra, pay their bill online or get their bill online? And are we offering it and communicating with people? Does it make sense? This bill, in 3 years, I've learned a lot. This bill still confuses me. My water bill still confuses me. It's still hard for me. What am I paying for sewer? What does it have to do with the price of my house? What? Right? And then I guess I just give up and look at the bottom and write a check. If I'm alone, you speak up.
The system works.
Right? So let's. Yes, it does work. I got my bill. That's true.
You paid it.
All right. So let's talk about this in our upcoming workshops. Please take a look at it. Any question's a good question, even if we don't do anything. Even if we just maybe find a way to better communicate how it all looks. And if I can't figure this out, senior citizen who doesn't have a computer, I would think is,
Well, make it an optional thing.
yeah.
If you would rather have your bill emailed to you, send us
your email.
And
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Awesome.
What would
Yeah.
it be for the city to have someone whose job or partial job it is to maintain every technical residence contact and e-contact info?
Well, what that would be is a database, and
But to make sure it's updated.
yes,
like
it would
6
be.
months. Or,
Yeah, I
mean,
don't
that's
know.
like-
We
that's
don't even
impossible.
have an IT person at the City of Glens Falls. We use StoreTech right now as our IT specialist. So I don't know, but even that conversation is
That'd
a
be a
difficult one.
multi-departmental benefit, right? Like
It would be huge.
Everybody everywhere would be able to use accurate information.
Imagine if we had and it would take a lot to keep. It would be a database, a moving target.
Yeah, that.
Oh, yeah.
That
But
can't
that's
be
like
how
a-
everything works, though. There's
Well,
gotta-
911
that's
system.
crazy.
Yeah, we don't keep, like, as far as phone numbers and all that, we don't keep as far as, like, homeowners.
But shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have your bill. We have your address. We know how to send you a bill pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it, but it'd be nice to have.
It would be. At least have the option. I like that. All right. Give us your email. Give us create a go online and make an account.
Yep.
And you'll be able to get updates about all the departments. Right? They can sign up online, but it's a scary thing to do. And they click one thing and don't click, they click water and sewer. They'll get an update, but they won't get an update about this. How many of you know that the McCrells are playing Friday night in downtown Glens Falls for a holiday festival? Free. We got a 400 foot by 30 foot tent all the way down Maple Street. We're closing it for the weekend. Got the McCrell's Santas coming in, and the Marin Santa will turn on the street lights around 6 o'clock. The McCrell's are playing 7 to 8:30, and a huge heated tent free for the fan. And then they're going to come and play on Sunday, too. No, but you can get it at Queensberry and walk out. We did suspend the open container law.
When is that, Friday?
Please come. That's this Friday, and then Sunday they're going to play noon to 1:30 again for families. We've been talking about it. We'll be on the radio, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. Anyway, thank you. Next, Bill. The next on our agenda. Electrical upgrade update.
As I said, we had the 60% completed. They took all the information back. They looked at some of the MCCs. They put it into their database, and they came up with a lot of the size of our MCCs are basically too small to encompass all of our instrumentations too. If we did that, we'd be in violation of the new codes. The codes have changed over 30 years, believe it or not.
Yeah, really?
So, in order to do that, they've discussed the issue with us, and they gave us two options. And basically, one is proposed fee on the last page is to look at complete the work for an additional $40,000, and inclusive base scope in addition to this work accepted adjusted to the contract fee would be a lump sum of $100,000. Now, they could do a little less work for $60,000, and again, we still have about $19,000 we didn't spend because their base bid came in at $631,000, and we allotted $650 for their initial bid. Then we increased it by almost $50,000, so they're at $700,000, but they're $19,000 less than that $700,000, so that would come off of either one of these figures that we were looking at. Now, the way we look at it is, we're probably only going to get one bite of the apple for the next 30 years. So we've discussed, Chris and I. So if we build everything for technology, that would be one thing. We have a little difference of opinions, Chris and I, and I agree with Chris that he likes boots on the ground and hands, and people seeing equipment when it turns on and off, rather than sitting at a computer screen, watching it. I agree with that. But at the end, if we don't do it initially, the cost is going to be consequentially much higher if we try to do it afterwards. We still have the ability to use the system the way the chief operator or whoever's, whether it's Chris, I, or whoever's sitting in the chair wants to use it, whether it's a guy sitting at the piece of equipment turning it on and off, and going back to the SCADA system and seeing that it's on, or if the next generation wants to go ahead and turn it on and off from the computer screen, then go check it or
And it's not
confirm.
just turning it on and off, right? You can see if the equipment's running properly or.
Well, that's why
Yeah, some of it.
Chris would want someone there when you turn it on and off and make sure that the pressures aren't.
But I mean, there's
going skyward.
sensors and things like that in the system that
Yes.
tell you the flow and, I mean, you could get you still want somebody to go out and look at it, but you could sit there at the computer and say, I have an idea, this is what's wrong, or this is what's going on.
Yeah.
So, we had an energy management system at work, and it was very helpful.
Mhm.
If somebody calling a problem, and you'd sit there and go in and log on the computer, and you'd sit there and watch, the air flows and, humidity levels and everything.
And this is, we have it right here. We have a difference of opinions right here in the city. We have a water treatment plant that we're able to do that, and we have a wastewater treatment plant where we'd like to have people on the ground, because we are manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Whereas the water treatment plant, they're 8 hours a day. Then they go home, and if everything's alarmed, and if something comes in, the alarm goes off. They can get on their tablets or even their cell phones and see what the alarm is, correct the issue. If they can't correct the issue, then they go to the treatment plant and have to go ahead and do what they need to do in a hands-on situation.
And I have no problem with the technology technology. Where I've been hesitant on is you can hit the start button on the flights for our primaries. They turn on. All looks good. Except the chain broke and they're sitting in the bottom of the tank. Where the operator has to get up and physically go look at it after it's been started. I've run plants that are completely automated. One guy sits there for 14 hours starting to plan up section by section by section. Works great. As long as it's working, it works great. But as Bill said, it's a lot of modification and addition we have to do to our SCADA system, our fiber, but that's where everything is going in that direction.
And again, like I said, if we don't do it now, it'll be the same thing as, you know.
But what we're proposing now is not, this is just a design.
Mhm.
This doesn't have to be done in the, if Chris doesn't want it done or whatever. But the design will still be there, so if it ever wants to be done later on.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll include it in the design, and then what we'll do is, we'll bid the project to see what the bid comes in at.
Right.
And then we could start, you know, depending if it's something, the number that we like, and the engineer says, you know, it's a good number, we think it's good, it comes in too high, this, you know, this could be the first thing that gets cut.
You still got the design done.
Still have the design work done.
And
But you also have the ability, you know, that these MCCs are gonna be, they're gonna meet code, and they're gonna be capable, because right now, you know, our system is basically, you know, all over the place. We have some of our SCADA lines are running through our HVAC cabinets. So, you know, the guys the engineers came out and started looking at that, and they're like shocked when they open up, where's this line running? And they open up the HVAC cabinet and it's running down through there. It works. The same way we have a gentleman from Siemens, Tom Albion, that, you know, Chris, has been here since you've been here, right, Chris? Or before? Longer than Chris. So, you know, once he retires, all that knowledge, you know, leaves with him. So,
You mean as to where it's running?
where everything, and how
Yeah.
everything's hooked together, and, you know.
So the options in front of us are, they've found some things that aren't necessarily compliant today. They were when they were maybe originally, but they're not today. And they're offering to redesign it for us for, what are the amounts? Sorry?
Well, it's either $60,000 or $100,000.
And none of that's budgeted currently.
Currently not. And that's, you know, another thing that we have to look at is where that's coming.
But you mentioned the 19 slush from.
There's still, yeah, so,
benefit earlier,
you know,
so
so either
you
one
want
of those
21?
numbers is basically minus 19,000.
Why,
So
why
this is-
didn't they discover before, when they were doing that?
Because it was part of the design, and once they started to get into the design, they saw how big these MCCs were gonna be, and that they couldn't incorporate all of this instrumentation on the same footprint that these MCCs were gonna exist on. So that's when they knew they had, you know, everything has to be taken into a different area, and different panels have to be put up. They have these huge instrumentation panels where they land all of their wires that go from the equipment and then go into these cabinets, and from these cabinets it goes into the SCADA system. The input and output wires for these programs and these PLCs.
Yeah, but why didn't they discover when they were doing the initial analysis?
Well, because mainly they were looking at, and that's part of that $50,000 that we told them to look at some of our SCADA stuff and things of that, everything else, where initially they were just looking at the MCCs. And then remember, we asked them to look at all the start stations for all of the equipment. And then they went in and they looked at, well, if these are the start-stop stations, where are this, all of this instrumentation coming back to? And,
We don't have to make a decision today, do we?
I don't believe so. I believe what we need to do is I know that you're looking at it, the overall ARPA picture, and whether there's any funds available there or?
No, there's not. Matter of
Okay.
fact, I've got to cut about $900,000 out of the asks right now to
Okay,
do that.
okay. So, this is something that, we'll go back to them, ask them,
You
have to do-
you could provide an invoice from them next week
Yep.
if you said you wanted this.
Correct.
If the Water and Sewer Commission said that they'd like the $100,000 version of this,
Mhm.
you could get an invoice from them.
Yes.
Right away.
And basically, it'd be for $81,000 because we still got that $19,000 cushion there.
Well, do me a favor and get the bill for 81,000.
Okay.
And let's, if I'm cutting 900,000, I might as well cut 990 or 89,000.
I will call Chris Pierce after the meeting.
Great. Thanks. Can we discuss this too in that workshop next week?
Absolutely.
Or 2 weeks?
Yep.
See what, because this is now, we're getting closer toward the end of this, and we'll have ourselves a newly designed system with no money really to buy it, right?
Mhm.
And so we need to start to look at what,
We're gonna facilitate.
yeah,
that.
how are we gonna facilitate the next steps, right? And it is, I think it was, out of the $12 million, well over five to 6 million was used in our water sewer infrastructure, which is a great use of that money, right? From Dix Avenue to the sand filters, to the design of new electrical design, right? That's all
About
Webster,
another couple $100,000 in equipment for the field crew.
yeah, right? So,
Actually, I saw the trailer being used the other day.
great. Thank you. Next up, budget highlights.
I just-
Webster Ave.
No Webster, I do that.
You did that.
Don't leave poor Webster out.
Go ahead.
Webster Avenue, we've had, as you know, we did all the sewer work first, then all the catch basin work, and then the final piece was the water valves. And as you know, whenever you touch any kind of old water valves, they like it or they don't like it. So we had to chase a few different valves down so that they could complete their work. And when we did that, we got outside of some of the zones where we left flyers that water would be turned off. So we got some calls and we explained what happened and we apologized. And then there was a couple valves that we turned off that probably didn't get turned back on the right way. So some people got intermittent water. And then we had one lady, I think it was either 53 or 57, Webster, when we were turning it on and off, and as you know, when we flush, we get sediment and things like that. Must have got sediment in her shower valve, and the shower wouldn't show off, so they had to have a plumber come out. I haven't seen a bill for that, or I don't know if we will, but we've gone back several times and asked them if they needed anything, but we haven't seen. I think they said they had Jack Hall come out. Maybe they just haven't gotten the bill yet, so I haven't seen anything from that. So. Today, I didn't get to talk to Jeremy today yet, but they did a walkthrough for the final walkthrough for the year because they're gonna shut the job down. They're gonna fit minor.
Patch.
They're gonna do a temporary patch of the street, and then come back in the spring, and that's when they'll do all the heavy milling and complete if they haven't completed all the sidewalks.
So you're gonna do temporary paving on the street?
It'll be temporary paved, yes. Hopefully, if the pavement plants are still open, and again, the temperature dropped quite a bit, so that's what the plan was. As I said, I didn't get to talk to Jeremy because I didn't get to go to the walkthrough this morning. Okay. But that's how it was. I don't know if anybody came down McDonald Street, but they were paid. They put all the cement sidewalks in, so
Yeah.
they just completed that today. I would say that project is probably about 70% complete. Most of the infrastructure work is probably 90 to 95% complete. Went pretty well, considering, we got a whole, basically a brand new sewer from Glen Street to Bay Street.
Great.
And all new catch basins, all new laterals, all new cleanouts. So,
That's great.
Budget update?
okay, we talked about this at the workshop, about the budget and what it entailed. So I just kind of went down, basically the highlights of the water water distribution and sewer budgets. We looked at cost increase, which was, helped, and what we were looking at was not using any of the fund balance, the $300,000 from the Warren County sales tax. And then with all that included, we came up to about a 5.5% increase, which represents about a $60 increase in the water and sewer bill for the year. $5 per month, 17 cents per day. We can continue going down.
When you cut the reservoir landscaping, that's gonna come back to bite us, isn't it?
No, we cut it out. That was the 15. That I think it was 12,500. I think we split it with the landfill. But that's why we bought that mower.
Okay, so that's all.
Ventrex, yeah,
I just
that's
don't wanna
what.
see us neglecting.
It's gonna be
have-
happen.
Have trees in there again. and
No,
have to
that's
basically remove the
the
trees.
whole reason. That was the whole reason to
Yeah.
get that, so we could do it as many
Okay.
times as we wanted to do
It's
it.
scared me
Rather
to-
than 3 times a year, we can do it several times a year.
Right.
Just cut out the contract. That's all
There-
we
Yeah,
cut out.
okay.
The
Yeah, cut out
actual
cutting,
doing the
yeah.
work.
Yes, and Ricky was, very happy because that's the piece of equipment he wanted, and he wanted to do that work. He said, why are we contracting? I said, well, because we don't have the piece of equipment. Well, we'll get the piece of equipment. We were fortunate enough to get a grant from, Warren County,
Right.
Water and Soil and Water, so. And actually, I think it was a $45,000 grant with a 10% match, and they came back to us because I think the equipment was 41,000. They want us to do the other, 3,900 to make sure that we utilize the whole grant.
Right.
So I think Ricky's gone ahead and did some modifications to that unit so that we can put any kind of a piece of equipment on it that we want.
Get the cup holders.
No. Yeah, the ones that sway, so you're going up those, you got those steep inclines you gotta do, so.
I don't believe we have any personnel issues.
Well, we have 2, quickly. We hired a new lab tech, so we feel that. He started today. And we have a new gentleman, we had one gentleman, a very good gentleman, actually Pat Dowd's son, leave to go take another position somewhere else, and we hired another gentleman that's gonna start on Wednesday. Road crew. So those were filled rather quickly, which was good. We go from there.
Great. No executive session that I'm aware of.
No.
Proposed next meeting, the water and sewer workshop is Monday, December 16th, 2 p.m. And then the regular wastewater, water and sewer board meeting, January 5th, 2025. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
Just one comment. I'd like to thank Bill for the time he put in here. I know he answered the phone at night and came to the city at night. And, did the extra effort, so.
I have my text buddy sitting right next to me.
There you go. Yeah.
So the board does appreciate your effort.
Well, I can't say enough about the board and how this is, as I told the mayor, this is extremely bittersweet for me. It is a good opportunity for me and my family. Unfortunately, it means leaving this position, because this I thought would be the culmination of my career. I thought I'd be here until you kicked me out.
Well, and just so you know, we are trying to contract with Bill for some part-time work to continue to work with us while we fill his position.
Every other
So,
Monday is a.
at least, how's that, Woody? All right, so we're definitely gonna hold on to Bill as long as we can, as much as we can, within reason.
And one more thing before, and thank you, gentlemen, for all of your kind words and all your help. And it was a pleasure working with all you. and especially the water and wastewater staff, they were wonderful. Even Emily.
Poor Emily.
And I just left this on your spot, so if you get a chance, we had the sanitary survey up at the water treatment plant, went very well, so we're all set up there. So for another couple of years too, we have to redo this every couple of years.
Great.
Thank you.
If you can read through that, any questions, just let me know. I had the same phone number. Now people won't question why I have a Connecticut phone number. And then the mayor's been kind enough that I will help out. I'll still have my laptop and my email, so for a while until, he decides my help isn't needed any longer. So if anything comes up, just either call me or email me, text me, whatever's easiest, and I'll respond as quickly as I can. And again, it was my pleasure.
Motion to adjourn.
And ours. Thank you.
We have a motion to adjourn.
As long as Joe stays.
Second.
Second.
Perfect.
You
All
got
in
it.
favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.